Hey, Dante. I wanted to start by asking you guys come back first practice here, and at the halfway mark of the season, Bud spoke a lot about the adjustments that you've made and defensively where he thinks you guys are at. As you've had a couple of days to sort of reflect, how would you assess the first half of the season from where your expectations would have been and where you guys want to go?
I think we're on the right path. Honestly, I think with what type of year it's been, and then us having a new team, I think we've battled through some adversity, and I think it's been good for us. I think the last 2 years, the regular season, we've kind of run through it, and we got to the playoffs, and we had to make adjustments then. I think us making adjustments now is good for us. We get a couple of days where we get to get away from each other, and then when we come back today, everybody regroups, energy's high, nothing but positivity, and everybody's ready to work.
Zora Stevenson.
I'm sure it's probably hard to kind of sum up, but if you were to like reflect a little bit, what has the last year been like for you? March 11th is tomorrow, so it would have been, kind of a year that the world has been in this state.
Interesting, honestly. You go from playing in the season to all of a sudden not playing at all. And then you end up going down to a bubble in Orlando, and then you don't know when the season's going to start, and now you don't have fans, and now slowly but surely fans are coming back, and it's just been interesting. I think it shows a lot of character from the guys, especially on our team and our organization. I think top to bottom, I think we've handled this extremely well, and everybody else makes it easier on us players to just kind of not worry about everything else. Just go home, come back, do your job, and just relax.
Did you feel like you needed a break more this season? Like, did you need the All-Star break, and were you kind of like looking forward to it more than in previous seasons just because of the schedule?
I was just thinking about this. I have no idea what I did last All-Star break, but this one was much needed. I think this one was much needed just mentally, physically. You have a lot of games, and you don't have many days to practice in between. So as a team, like, you're making adjustments, you're doing things, and the days that you would usually practice, you're trying these things out in games and see if they work. And sometimes do, sometimes they don't. So I think this was much needed break. And like I said, everybody came in today ready to go, and I think the energy was really great today.
Eric Name.
Last year used to be the joke, right? Like starter Donte, like, there's starter Donte. Well, you've started all 36 games. You are now officially starter Donte, I suppose. What have those 36 games been like? Like, what is that kind of transition to like a bigger role in playing every single night, 30 minutes a night? Like, what has that kind of been like for you?
One has been great. They don't call me starter Donte anymore, which is cool. So, but it's been good. It's been a good learning experience for me. It's allowed me to grow my game a little bit more and to grow my mind a little bit more. I think picking the brains of Giannis, Drew, Chris, Coach, Bud, just everybody with that first unit. I think we have so many different weapons that we can attack with, and when we figure out how to attack and what spots we want to attack in, I think guys will just start getting more and more open looks. And it's been good for me, just trying to pick my spots while staying aggressive and having those dudes kind of build confidence in me throughout the year and just telling me, don't change just because you're with us first unit. Do what you've been doing and keep getting better.
For you guys defensively, I think number one defense in the league the last 2 years, and then this year, I think you're like somewhere around 10th. Just for you guys to get back up to that elite level, kind of what do you think you guys need to do to get to that spot?
Be more consistent. I think we show flashes where you're like, damn, this is a good defensive team. And then sometimes I think we show flashes, that when we're on the other end. And I think when we do that more consistent and we stay on top of teams, I think the big thing for us is when we go down in a game, those are when the flashes come out and we start picking it up. I think for us is like we got to step on them early and then keep on them. And that's a key for us. I think consistency for us.
Andrew Wagner.
Hey, Dante. Looking at the schedule, that's a pretty brutal stretch for you guys, not just in terms of like number of games, but 9 back-to-backs pretty much every other day, and you guys have some just tough opponents. When you look at that, is it daunting, or do you just kind of say, "Now forget it. I'm just going to look at what's next in front of us"?
I think we're built for it. I think this team we're built for it. The people in the organization are built for it. I think everybody here wants to just play as much basketball as we can together. I think that's like the motto here is just being together. I think in the interesting year that we've had, the more chances we have to be together, to get better, to work on our flaws, we'll take it. So all those back-to-backs, whatever we had this first half versus second half, we don't care. We just want to go out there and play ball and get better and get ready for the long run that we're about to make.
Is it a little different being in the position you guys are in? And granted, there's a lot of basketball left, but you're kind of the team that's doing the chasing this year instead of having the team with the cushion. Does that change the mindset at all? Does that do anything different?
Not at all, because every game we play, they want to beat us. I think it may seem to you, maybe seem to us that, we're doing the chasing a little bit, but every time we step on the floor, those teams remember what we've done to them the last 2 years. And they come out there and they play hard. And thinking about the Knicks tomorrow, like this team plays extremely hard. And the last time when we were in New York, they remember what we did last year. So they came in and they played harder than us, so we had to come out tomorrow and be ready to play harder.
Thanks, Donte.
Yeah.
All right, last one to Jim Wazarski.
Donte, I guess it's sort of schedule related. When we would talk to you guys in the first half about the back-to-backs with the same team or the 2 games in 3 nights against the same team, the thought was it's like a playoff, right? You play the same team, you can make an adjustment. When you look back at that now, did it happen the way you thought in terms of that game adjustment, whether you won or lost, but that game adjustment or kind of learning on the fly and that? Because that's what you thought you would get out of it. Did you get? Did that happen? I guess a little bit.
I think you get a little bit out of that. Obviously, in the regular season, there's certain things where if you look at regular season versus playoffs, and you take the same situation, I think you're watching way more film and spending way more hours trying to make these adjustments in the playoffs. But that doesn't say that we're not making adjustments from game to game in the regular season. I think there's just more time spent on it in the playoffs. And I think regular season is more so about finding our identity and staying true to our identity.
Along those lines, you'll get Philly in the same scenario. Brooklyn's in that scenario. I think Boston. You play basically a lot of your Eastern Conference opponents the 2 and the 3 days. So going forward, I don't know. Is there? How do you view that? I guess where you are. Those are teams you might play again in June, July. So how do you think you're going to kind of view, though? Is it kind of preview of a playoff? Do you take that intensity in? Like, how do you kind of look at that part of the schedule?
Yeah, I think naturally when you play those teams in a back-to-back or 2 games in 3 days, I think naturally you're going to be more up for it than some other opponents. So that's just that factor. And then the adjustments and stuff and way you're viewing it from game to game is basically, like I said, it's still regular season. You don't want to play it down too much because obviously they're still big games. But at the end of the day, that's not going to make or break your season. So you watch a lot of film, but when it comes playoff time, you're watching 10 times more film than you would in the regular season.
Great. Thanks, Donte.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I was just wondering what you got out of the G League experience and where you think your game developed the most from that experience.
Just adapting myself to the next level. Prior to the G League, I was only had college experience. So playing against more athletic and experienced people was great. But just knowing the pace of the game and getting to adapt myself before coming here.
Eric Name with The Athletic.
Mamadi, when we were talking to Sam Merrill after he went down and then came back up, he had said that before he went, he had a meeting with Bud, and Bud had said, like, hey, we need you to work on the defensive end. This is what we want you to focus on. Did you have a similar meeting with Bud, and kind of what were some of the points that they had pointed out to you, like, hey, this is what we want you to work on while you are down there?
Yes, I did have a talk with Coach Bud, and the main thing he told me was, just me going out there and having experience, like I just said, having some experience under my belt, because I was going to be playing 20, 30 minutes. somewhere around that. And with that, I could probably help the team. It's no specific area. It's just get better at your game everywhere, on every plan. And when you come back, you can probably be able to help the team with that.
I remember during some like the training camp videos, it was you defending Giannis.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're a big guy, you're athletic. I'm guessing you got to do some more of that since you've been back. What is that like, and kind of how does that help you prepare for what's going to be like in the league?
Can you repeat that again? I didn't understand really well. You kind of said, okay, can you repeat it first?
Sure. Just, what is it like getting to go against Giannis? And then how does that prepare you for what things are going to be like when you actually get playing time in the NBA?
Oh, in the NBA, I thought you were talking about the G League. How that prepared me for the G League.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's no player like Giannis, double MVP, defensive player of the year last year, and he just had another MVP in the All-Star game. So playing against someone that much experience just prepared me for, I think everything. His physicality, his quickness with his length, especially him, it's very hard to guard him. So if going against him, I got some experience from that. It would be easier for me to guard other guys in the league, for sure.
Zora Stevenson.
Who did you stay in touch with the most, Mamadi, while you were in Florida?
From
the Bucks.
Oh, from the Bucks. Well, the people that I stayed in touch with the most were Giannis, Chris Middleton, not so much Chris, but Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis. It's just them sending me congratulation texts on what I was doing down there, and we're just going back and forth. I was catching up on what was going on here, and they were catching up on what was going on there. So
you were just talking about, how Giannis is the reigning defensive player of the year and MVP, and for him to know what you're doing down in the G League and for Drew Holiday to reach out and Bobby Portis, how did that make you feel to know that they were watching?
I mean, it made me feel great, and proud of myself. But it's also a very, blessed group, a very special group. And according to, many guys around the league, Milwaukee has one of the best, or the best, I believe the best program. And that's what the guys were representing. I mean, they have a brother down south. They're trying to make sure they can reach out and make sure he's good. And I guess that's what they were doing with me. One
quick last one for you. What have you found is your role in practice? Like when you come to practice every day, what do you feel like you have to do?
First, as a rookie, making sure to get the guys open with screens and being the backbone of the defense, being able to, I'm very versatile. I can go on and on, but blocking shots is one of those. Protecting the rim, making sure they're in good spots, and putting them in the best position possible.
Jim Ozarski, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
Hey, Mamadi, good to see you.
Sir.
I know earlier in the year, before you went to the G League, Thanasis talked a little bit about you and your energy on the sidelines, on the bench. What has he meant to you? But then also, what did you like about that role, I guess, and being kind of an energy guy or cheering on your teammates, even if you were not active?
I mean, it's always fun. Even if you're not playing, being able to channel that energy and, send that towards them so they can play. Very hard. That's a big accomplishment to me. And I see myself doing the same job as Thanasis. And I can see when he goes in the game, he's full of energy. He gets the guys going. It's just that source of energy that changes everything when guys are tired. It's a long season, and not every game you could have energy. But if you have that one guy that can push everyone, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kane Pittman.
Hey man, just on that note, I guess the question I wanted to ask before you went down to the G League, we know that practice times are a little bit limited this season, so your opportunity really to play 5-on-5 at all was less than it would normally be. So as a competitor and as someone who's trying to learn and develop, what were you focusing on? And during games, I guess, what are you looking for? Who are you talking to? What are you trying to learn in those situations where you can't play?
I mean, first I talk to all of them because they have more experience than me. I try to get anything that's positive for me in my game, and that's one. But two, I try to watch the games and watch how the guys practice and see little areas where I can help, and that's being able to guard multiple positions, and that's being able to block shots, and offensively being able to finish at the rim, but also being on top of that, being able to pick and pop too, and stretch the floor.
Thanks.
All right, one more to Marcus Johnson. Marcus, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, but I can see you.
Oh, yeah. No, I got my thing. No. So we talked about your experience down there. Just today, practice. Did you see any immediate benefits from what you were doing down there in terms of just your approach mentally? Is what I'm talking about. Can you see a benefit to yourself mentally this first day back?
Yes, sir. I definitely see a benefit mentally because most of the time I was really focused and I was locked in more than when I was here before I left to the bubble. And, when Coach called my name, I was ready to go. And I thought I brought, something. I had a little assist, even though it's not a lot. That's, better than what I've done before. And I thought, it was a right way to take a step forward for my first day of practice back. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mamadi.
Of course.
Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach, welcome back. I guess I'll just start with, how did you choose to use the first practice back?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Touched on some defensive stuff, worked on some offensive execution. Got to scrimmage a little bit, just get them to touch it, get a little bit of rhythm, feel it. So I would say a pretty normal. Got to touch everything, but can't do too much in the first practice back.
Did you watch the All-Star game at all?
I watched bits and pieces of it, but very, very small bits and pieces, I guess I would say, like highlights.
Well, I guess your overall thoughts on Giannis's highlights and kind of walking away with the MVP, 16 for 16 from the field.
Yeah, I was fully supportive of that vote of him as the MVP. He was pretty amazing. It was a great honor for him, and it's a special event, and a lot of great players, a lot of great talent, and Giannis, I think, loves being there, and it was great for him to have a special night, an MVP night, something I'm sure he'll remember, and we're certainly appreciative of what he does every night.
Last quick one for you. Did everybody practice today?
Jordan went through, I would say, the majority of practice, but not all of it. But everybody else did, yes.
Thanks.
Jim Ozarski.
Mike, I know we touched on Mamadi a little bit when it was sort of formally called up. I'm curious now, as that season's over and you got your kind of full team, is it kind of back to where it started at the beginning of the year in terms of trying to find enough play time and practice groups with that sort of, hate to say the back, but that group at the sort of back end of the roster on that one? And how do you think you can use that, I guess, going forward?
Well, those guys are important to us, and their development and their growth is important to us. And, a first practice is maybe not, is a little bit hard for that piece of the pie. But, we did some good individual work before practice. Each guy, including Mamadi, got a good kind of 20, 30-minute individual work, which, we get, I think a lot of mileage out of that. And as we move forward, play groups and things like that are going to be important. And, there's always going to be opportunities, and we're excited about his growth, and Sam and Jordan. It's great to have him back in our building. His energy and his spirit are really good.
Did maybe Drew's break was a little different since he his coming back? I mean, was he able to kind of do some more ramping up where you think coming out beginning tomorrow his minutes workload can go up, or he moves off of restriction? Kind of where is he at now after this week?
Yeah, I'm guessing the whole team might be on some kind of restriction tomorrow. So, there's the Drew holiday, and then there's just life and reality coming out of the All-Star break. So, I think we'll talk about it between now and tomorrow, and but I think he was able to get good work in during this break. But spend time with his family also. And, so I think, I guess there's his restrictions off to some degree. Yes. Is it our first game back after a break in the All-Star? And I think, hopefully, you got to, use some foresight and, hopefully manage the game and manage our players and just continue to build us back up.
Eric Name.
I think defensively in the first half of the season, you guys are somewhere around like 10th, 12th, 11th, depending on kind of what you look at defensive rating wise. You guys have been first in the league last 2 years. What do you kind of circle as the thing that you guys need to do better to get back up into that level that I know you're a lot more comfortable at?
Yeah, I think, we've been kind of focusing on guarding the ball better, keeping the ball in front of us better. I think that that's maybe the priority. And if we can put less pressure, we want to be active. We want to be there for each other. We want to be really good, in the team defensive concept. But, I think we need to be better individually to start with. And I think if we build up our individual kind of presence on the ball, our individual effort there, and then have great team defense behind it, I think we're going to climb. And, I think we have been trending a little bit in the right direction. And it's just, you got to keep putting the work in, keep putting the time and effort in. And, hopefully we'll see that, continue to progress the way we want it to.
Does that include going over the top of screens a little bit less? Like that's something that's always been a part of your guys' defense, that you're going to chase over the top and kind of force in that mid-range area. Is that something that goes into dribble penetration, or is it still, within scheme, do the things that you need to do, and then outside of it is kind of where you're talking about dribble penetration?
I think a little bit of both. I think sometimes we're talking about just individual, just, without a screen and, more isolation stuff. But then, the pick and roll stuff that can we maybe either mix in unders more, or if we're going to switch and keep them in front more. And, so I think there's a little bit of just, trying to protect the paint, keep them out of the paint, but, more so from the point of attack and keep the ball from getting to some of the sweet spots and creating help and creating kickouts. So, we want to have a little bit of both. We want to compete. We want to be aggressive, and hopefully we can just get smarter and better, keeping the ball out of some of the sweet spots.
With a little time to reflect, what do you kind of think of the time that you guys had without Drew? It just obviously, I think by the end of the season, we're looking and be like, whoa, 10 games without Drew, that was a lot, and we're going to think about it a little bit more. But I guess, did you get time to reflect on kind of what your team looked like in that area, and then also outside of it?
I think, just reflecting on kind of the moment coming out of the 10 games and just thinking about how DJ Augustine was able to grow and get more comfortable and get, I think into a good place. I think Donte stands out to me as getting a lot more opportunities to, be a playmaker, have the ball in his hands, do different things, gain, grow his confidence even more. And so those two guys stand out to me as the most who probably benefited from, Drew's absence. But, I think as a group, just learning how to play, without somebody who's really talented on both ends of the court, things like that are going to happen in a unique season like this and different times during the second half or in a game or wherever it may be. And you just got to find a way to kind of play with what you have.
Andrew Wagner.
Hey, Mike, welcome back. You mentioned minutes earlier and kind of watching guys to start out with, but I'm kind of curious looking at the schedule here. How much of that do you have to do over this second half? Because I think I count 9 back-to-backs, and pretty much playing every other day the rest of the way, and you're kind of chasing this year instead of having that cushion. So do you have to kind of watch minutes with guys and kind of be a little more conservative as the second half gets going?
Well, I think, we've kind of made an effort to play guys a little bit more this year. And I think overall it's been good, but I think I would put it more just, this, phasing out of the break is going to be important, making sure we kind of, I don't know what word you want to use, but, I think we got to be conscientious coming out of the break and kind of build ourselves back up. And then, our schedule is, the NBA, you always have back-to-backs. You have stretches. I don't view our schedule as, as far as number of games or number of back-to-backs, something that should be a concern or that's different. There's some teams that are playing 40 games in the second half of the season and 39 and 38. So I hope we stay clean. I hope we stay healthy. If we can play the schedule as it's laid out right now, I think that we got the group and the team and the depth to kind of get through a second half the way it's laid out.
And if I could follow up on that real quick, because there was a similar structure in the first half. Did you and your staff kind of learn anything that you maybe had to adjust in terms of game prep or giving guys rest, or how you kind of adjusted things on the go?
I think towards the end, just managing probably shoot-arounds and, days between games and things like that, I think the games do, kind of come on top of each other. And, the number of, 2 days without a game or things like that, I think are significantly less. And so I think we started probably the first 20, 25 games, I would say in somewhat of a normal rhythm. And then you got to kind of just, kind of monitor your group and figure out what's best on shoot-around days and days between games. But you really do that every year. I do think this is a unique season. I do think the testing and all those challenges just add a layer to it. But getting through an NBA season is always, it's a little bit of, you got to figure out how the puzzle fits together and make hopefully the best decisions you can each day.
Kane Pittman.
Hey, Buds. I think this kind of ties into everything, but given this season, you brought in a whole bunch of new guys, and then also the practice time has been down and those sorts of things. Has this season been more difficult to...
All right, Kane.
Hopefully he'll go out. He's gone outside. Has this season been more difficult to try and implement those things, and have you had to, I guess, adjust your expectations for the timing of how you've been able to execute on the floor? What has that challenge been like?
I really feel like it's our group has been good on getting to the court and practices and shoot-arounds, and so I think our expectations are high. We haven't always been as good as we want to be and expect to be, but and I do, I'm curious to see how we go through the second half of the season, how we go through these first, I think the league set it at the next 7 days is going to be kind of unique, the timing of things. But our practice time, our ability to get on the court, our players have been really, I think, good. Our training staff has been good. We may not be as good as we'd like to be every night, but I think it's less to do with lack of practice time. It's less to do with, those things. And we just need to be better. Integrating new guys is always a challenge. But I think our guys have been good about getting to the court, getting practice, and now we got to find a way to do it down the stretch again.
All right, one more to Marcus Johnson.
Hey, Bud. You talked about defense, guarding the ball better. I was looking at some of your numbers in Atlanta, and you guys were always really good at forcing turnovers and scoring points off of turnovers. What's your philosophy now with this team in terms of that? Turnovers, I know you teach active hands and preach active hands, but would you like to see more turnovers, or does that really factor in terms of how you're approaching these guys defensively?
Yeah, I mean, literally one of the things we're talking about today. And I would say turnovers is not a huge focus for our staff. And there's a ton of my staff that, was part of those teams in Atlanta. And it just kind of evolved kind of organically and naturally, I guess. And it wasn't necessarily something we were trying to do. And so I would say philosophically as a coach, I'm much more, being really disciplined, being, kind of fundamental, team defense, keeping people in front. And if turnovers happen, I'd never give them back. But it's not something that, we're trying to talk about, we're emphasizing. Besides the things you mentioned, we want active hands, we want guys that are competing and being long. And I do think we could be better. I think sometimes it can be a little bit of a barometer of, how active you are and how much you're playing, for each other and the activity and things like that. But it's not real high up my list of priorities, even though it is part of the 4 factors.
Right. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. All right, thanks, guys.